Welcome back to Death on the Daily, and in this podcast we speak about the thing that we're all going to experience in life but none of us wants to talk about. Obviously, that is death, that is dying. But in this episode today we're going to be looking at it through a financial lens, and that's very much inspired by my last conversation with Hannah Mayfield from What is Wealth, an episode that you have to go check out. In addition to this one, this work is crucial because we're all going to die and we're all going to leave our loved ones behind. So why wouldn't we want to get all of our financial affairs in order, but also see how we can bring things in along the way that means that we can live through this life and our money in ways that are truly in alignment with us, with our values, and what we want to prioritize to live this life well. And as we start, I wanted to just mention that I'm really fundamentally aware of the growing inequity in this world. So I want to make a real strong acknowledgement of that, and an acknowledgement that when it comes to financial planning, when it comes to savings, when it comes to pensions, when it comes to the most basic things in life that we should all be able to afford, unfortunately, our systems and our society does not allow for that. There is a real hoarding of wealth at the top, and I personally don't agree with it. I'm talking to you, Elon, Mark Zuckerberg, all of the rest. I believe that there is a fairer world that can and should be supporting and uplifting and creating opportunities for all. And this is why I think this is a really important conversation, because actually there might just be little things that we can do, or just having an awareness of how important this is for us, I think is really, really empowering and uplifting in a world where actually for many, the conversation around finances has us running away just as quickly as the conversation about death does. So today's episode is very much inspired by my last interview with Hannah. And what I thought I'd share is what really feels alive in me since that conversation. What am I doing? What have I already done? And also rooting into a little bit of my money mindset, and actually along the way what I've learned and how I've been able to, through that mindset awareness, really, really support me when it comes to my financial planning. So firstly, let's start with why financial planning matters. And if you look at our society, we know that death is a taboo, that it's so unspoken. And it being unspoken, where that has led us is to us also not really thinking about planning for what if any of us were to take our last breath tomorrow. What does that mean for all of those who we love? And let's be real, death can be expensive. When you think about funeral costs, when you think about unpaid loans like mortgages, whether your family could cover them, when you think about, for example, I mean, to be honest, in truth, I don't know how it works elsewhere. I know in the UK there are certain debts that are written off, but I know that's not the case everywhere. When you think about debts that your loved ones may be taking on, there is a lot that is at stake here. And financial planning isn't just about making sure that your will's in order, that there's that directive of who gets what. It really, really is about making sure that your loved ones can be supported, that there is a plan and that's communicated clearly to them in advance. And I'm coming at this, I'm not preaching to you about this, because I'm actually coming at this in a relatively early stage in my own journey. So I figured we can keep each other accountable here. I am sharing where I'm at in this episode and where I want to go. And then through Death on the Daily, I can report back and hopefully we can encourage each other along in this journey. So now let's talk logistics. Let's talk about what we need to do, those critical actions. And here are some non-negotiables, some that I've done, some that I haven't. And we start with writing a will. Now, I'll hold my hands up and say, I actually haven't written my will yet. It's something that's been on my to-do list and I need to blast through and make that happen. And what a will does is it makes sure that whatever you leave behind, that it's distributed in a way that you want it to. Otherwise, you leave it at the hands of the government and whoever is the executor for your estate. And if you're sat here thinking, I don't have the financial means to write my will, what I will say is that actually there are some brilliant charity initiatives where they have solicitors as UK lawyers. I realize that because I think in the US solicitors means a very different thing. But where in the UK there's definitely charities where they have lawyers who donate their time to write free wills, and then basically there's a question that is, it's an option for the person who's having their will, would you like to leave a gift to this charity within your will? So that's a really simple way of getting a free will, as well as I'm sure there's many other initiatives and support out there. Just give it a little Google and see what comes up. The next up is one that I have done, which is setting up insurance and making sure that your beneficiaries of that are all in there. So I have life insurance. I also have critical illness insurance, which means that if I'm critically ill, that I get a payout because I own my own business. So ultimately, it's just me. I don't have the greater assurance, I guess, that you may have, may not, if you work in a corporate environment. So setting up that insurance alongside health insurance and any other insurances that I need was really, really important to me. But also within that, it's really important that you keep up to date on who is going to benefit from that money, particularly, well, it's mostly on the life insurance side. And life insurance is really important. I hadn't thought about this until someone mentioned it to me. When you've got a mortgage, because the reality is, between me and my husband, if I was to die tomorrow, he wouldn't be able to afford the insurance payment, the mortgage payment. But what this means is that he would get a lump sum that would cover off that value of our house that is outstanding on our mortgage if anything was to happen to me, meaning that he wouldn't have to sell up and leave. And then we've got appointing a power of attorney. This is a legal process, a legal documentation, and this is really important from the perspective of having someone who is going to make decisions for you if you're unable to. So for example, if you're in a medical condition, that basically means you are unable to speak and to communicate your wishes. It's something that I haven't done. It's, again, something that's on my list. And then there's planning for our funeral costs. So this is one where it can be just nice to put some money aside just because funerals are expensive. And I actually, when I trained as an end-of-life doula, there was a suggestion that was brought into our discussions in the training course was actually, yes, you've got those plans that you can sign up to with funeral directors, but actually they can be quite restrictive. And what could be lovely is to leave money in a savings account with clear communications that's written down and given to your family that basically says, when I die, here's where the money is to cover the funeral, and this is my wishes for that. So those are just a few things that feel alive in me. I will say I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm just sharing from a bit more of a blog perspective where I'm at and a few key considerations that I think are important, not just for me, but for all of us. And I would love to hear in the comments if there's anything else that I should be thinking of and taking action on now. Okay, so we've covered some of the practical side. Now it's time to talk about something that is just as important, if not for our planet, even more important. And that is how we can make sure that our finances are flowing in ethical ways. Now, again, I caveat, I am no financial expert. So I would definitely recommend with all of this, as you go on your own path, to seek out the appropriate advice from a financial advisor or similar. For me, making sure that my money is used in an ethical way has been really, really important, particularly actually, I think I started properly going on the path to switch my finances. I think it was around 2019, 2020. And actually I'd been on a path where I had been reducing the amount of plastic. I'd been switching as much as I could to organic food. I'd been doing as much as I could that I thought I'd been recycling. I've been doing all those things that I thought were really beneficial to the planet. But I read something in the media that said, actually, one of the most effective ways that you can make an impact, I think it was above and beyond our reducing our carbon footprint and all of those other swaps that I just mentioned, was actually making sure that where your money is put through your bank, through your pensions, through other savings and investments, that it's done in an ethical way. And the reason for this is that big banks and financial institutions, they make money by investing our money. When we give them our money, they then, it flows out, it gets invested. And obviously, if we want to draw down on that money, we can do. But ultimately, in the meantime, they're making money on our money. Now, where a lot of big banks invest is in, for example, I was banking with Barclays and I was absolutely horrified about the fact that I haven't done my research now, so I can't say where they currently are. But at the point that I decided to switch my account, Barclays was really badly investing in fossil fuels, was investing in all sorts of spaces that was ultimately doing damage to the planet. And I wanted nothing to do with it. So I went on my pathway to switch all of my money and make sure that it's in ethical spaces. So one side was, and I did work with a financial advisor on this, I moved my pension. And that started with a conversation at the corporate that I worked with at the time. And there wasn't, I suppose, in alignment with my values and where I wanted to be, which was fully, deeply, and completely in alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I couldn't find an option through the pension provider that our company gave. So I decided to go out there and work with a financial advisor. Again, did it with an expert and switch. So they managed to move all of my corporate pensions into a fund that was fully ethical and fully aligned with my values. Then on the other side, I also switched my bank. So that is my personal bank as well as now my business bank. That's all done through ethical options, of which there are many brilliant brands out there. And what this is really about is banking with a conscience, because I don't want my money going out there and doing damage while I sleep. I want to make sure that my money is creating its own positive ripple effect on the world. And I think that it's really, really important, because also the message that we can send out to financial institutions is big. If you think, if it multiplies up through all of us that are saying, actually, no, I don't want my money being spent in this way, that is what does create that ripple effect of change in industries and for our planet. So all of this to say that it's never too late to just see how you can be more ethical in where your money's going. It's something that I just wanted to share today because it's been really, really close to my heart, but also I found it really empowering, actually realizing that I have a choice. I have a choice about where my money is, where I put my savings, where who I choose to bank with, who I choose to have my pension with. It's made me feel really, really empowered in a time when, in truth, I think it can feel quite disempowering, just given the state of the world. And I suppose, a lot of that hopelessness that is totally understandable to feel, because what's happening to our planet through the climate crisis, through social injustices, through all of the atrocities that's happening on our earth, it can bring up a lot. It can bring up a lot of grief. It can bring up a lot of worry. And for me, I found it really empowering to say, no, I'm going to take steps that are going to create my ripple effect. And I know that that is, alongside everybody else who's doing it, that is going to drive a tangible impact for our planet. And now I just briefly wanted to touch on the mindset side of money matters, because there is a big money mindset element. And for me, what I've really rooted into is how our money mindset is passed down. It's something that, if you think, when we're children, we're sponges, we're absorbing what our parents are doing, we're absorbing what our grandparents do or did, we're absorbing everything from all around us, from how we move through this world, from all of our experiences, whether it's those that we've directly had that autonomy within, or it's those that we've been witnessing what others do. And for me, what's been really, really powerful, particularly as I've exited the corporate comfort zone of having a monthly paycheck, knowing exactly what's rolling in, and moved into being a small business owner, I found it really, really empowering to bring a spotlight, to shine a light onto my money mindset, specifically from the perspectives of my fears, also of where I'm being wasteful with money, of where I basically got some work to do. Because the reality is that we obviously are creatures of habit, and our subconscious is definitely programmed to those patterns, of which, as I've shared, a lot of them are that which we will inherit through our family and those around us. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be a foregone conclusion for the rest of our life. For me, I have a very charitable edge that will see me saying to people, oh, no, I could do this at a discounted rate or for free, before I've even said how much what I'm offering is going to cost, which is ultimately really rooted in me and my value. What I realized was that was a pattern, and that's something that I've been working on. But actually, in me working on it, I know that for my future children, I'm also healing those patterns, because ultimately I hope that that's something that they won't witness, me just being willing to give everything away for free to the detriment of myself. I'm not saying that you should never give anything away for free. I also believe in a spirit of generosity in businesses. But what I'm really connecting into is the fact that actually I'm going to be passing on that much more healthy money mindset to my children. So what I really felt inspired to share here is simple. Keep shining that spotlight where you've got money fears, where you've got money patterns, money habits, things that just are not as they should be. They're not really truly supporting you in this life, and also in you planning for the end of your life. Just gently shine that spotlight on them. Bring those, whatever it is, out of the shadows and into the sunlight, because it's from here that we can have conscious awareness and build that conscious awareness, so that, for example, when I go, oh, wow, I've got a pattern that means that I'm willing to just give stuff away for free before I've even said how much it costs, in times where it's completely inappropriate, because I'm speaking to people who can and should be paying exactly what I'm asking. That was something where I said, okay, let me bring it out of the shadows. Let me see, what's the fear there? Where am I undervaluing myself? Where am I telling myself you're not worthy? How can I work on that? And the more that I just brought it out of the spotlight, the more I said, what sits underneath this behavior? What fears are here? What beliefs are here that I'm not worthy enough? And how can I really root into and work on myself from that perspective of, actually, no, I'm worthy of this. I'm worth it. All of those things are ultimately, when we track all the way back to our childhood, all of those things that we just weren't told enough. And so my final thoughts for this episode are that financial planning in both life and in death, it's really about that intentionality, bringing that intentionality in as you take steps in order to plan for finances in life and death. It's about intentionality in taking those small steps, whether it's like I'm doing at the moment, just squirreling away little bits of cash. Even the other day, I just put £30 into my ISA savings, knowing that every time that I can do that, it all adds up. But also that intentionality comes in when we can bring that spotlight onto our money mindset, onto our values, how we can really live our values and make our own ripple effect on this planet, simply by who we bank with and who we have our pensions with, but also the fact that there's that intentionality when it comes to our money mindset and those beliefs and those fears and those behaviors that are rooted in our subconscious that perhaps are doing us a disservice in this life. And ultimately, I want to give the final word to death, because death will be each of our final words. And well, we maybe won't say it, but it's the final thing that we go through. But when it comes to death, I also just really, really wanted to spotlight the fact that obviously there's a lot that our loved ones will be going through. So when we're doing this financial planning, when we're looking up the path, when we're not shying away from these dead conversations, actually what that's going to do is give our loved ones the greatest gift once we've exited this planet. So if you're like me and you're thinking, oh, okay, I got some work to do, I'm definitely there. Let this be our nudge. Let this be our nudge to take it one step at a time. And so finally, my note to self, I've written this as a simple reminder that I'm going to be really, really rooting into as I take my own actions in my own money journey. And that is, step by step, I'm rewriting my money story into one that is in alignment with me, my values, and that which I wish to leave to those who matter the most to me. So that's it for this episode of Death in the Daily. And if this episode resonated with you, then you might want to share it with your loved ones, your friends, anyone who you think, okay, oh my goodness, you need to listen to this and to take action. Or better yet, perhaps you could even use this as an excuse to have that conversation with your family, be it your partner or any other loved ones. And if you want more deep and real chats about death, these dead conversations, then make sure you hit subscribe to Death on the Daily. And know that wherever you are in your journey, in your money journey, I am sending you lots and lots of love.
All of my gratitude to you for joining me for another Dead Conversation. Death on the Daily is edited by David Strutt. The music is Set Free by Katie Gray. And I am Tanya Wilkinson. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would be over the moon if you can rate, review, and subscribe. It really, really helps me to get the word out there. And if you want to say hi or to hear more about my work as a coach and death doula, including how I support my clients to navigate their death on the daily, then all of the ways that you can connect with me are in the show notes. I'll be back soon with some more Dead Conversations. And in the meantime, take good care of yourself and others.
There's a cold fire, there's a crossfire, and there's something inside, and we'll never make